Hey thinkers, today we're asking and answering the question, how strong is Phaeton's Painpacker? But we're also going to take Phaeton, who's already a top 5 Phantom Troop member, and put his theoretical limit against the rest of the Phantom Troop. In order to figure out how strong his son is, we first need to figure out what the weakest version we've seen can do. Phaeton's one and only time using Painpacker was stated to be on the weaker side because he only got slashed across the chest and had his arm broken. However, for the purposes of this video, I'll be ignoring the slash on his chest, because there's just too much possible variation. Even though it was weaker than normal, he was still able to destroy an entire castle, which is made out of silk, and silk is known to be stronger than steel. The Buckingham Palace is 138,450 square feet, with a city block ranging from 171,600 square feet to 297,000 square feet, keeping Phaeton just out of city block range. But considering that Zazan's castle seems to be much larger, I believe we can comfortably put Phaeton at city block level. Now that we know what he's capable of with just one broken arm, we can figure out how strong he is with multiple broken arms. Though it's hard to tell what bone is broken in this scene, it seems to be his elbow. So if we say that all his major joints are broken and assume that they all cause a relative amount of pain, that would add up to 12 times the strength of the normal pain packer, easily putting him into the multi-city block ranges. However, the joints aren't the only things to break. If we instead assume that it was one of his arm bones that fractured, and assume that they again cause a relative amount of pain, by breaking all his legs and arms, not counting multiple bones in one part of a limb, we get a 8 times increase. While I do think that he could get even stronger through cuts and other fractures, there's no way to tell how much stronger he would get, and it's already highly unlikely that Phaeton could even get to this theoretical level without firing off Painpacker. So the likely max of what Phaeton could do is 8 to 12 times increase to Painpacker's power. Now that we know how strong Phaeton is, how does the Phantom Troop fare against him? Starting with all the low tier members of the Phantom Troop, they are immediately out of the question. This tier includes Shizuku, Pakunoda, Kortopi, Machi, Kaluto, and Shalnark. Considering that even mid-tier Phantom Troop members, like Finks, had to run away from Phaeton's attack, or they would die, that means that the lower level Phantom Troop members would be easily killed. Speaking of mid-tier Phantom Troop members, could they stand a chance? Well, you see, the problem is that we don't really have any scaling for them. Finks and Banalanov's only scaling is being able to defeat an Officer Chimera Ant and thinking that they could defeat Zaza. Franklin's only feat is fighting Nobunaga for a bit, and Nobunaga is stated to fight side by side with Uvogin, but Uvogin is stated to hold back when teaming up with him. And in recent chapters, he's shown to be extremely intelligent and skilled. So in short, there isn't enough to go on to say for certain, but even if we do highball the feats we have, like Fing's thinking he can beat Zazan, which I think is just his ego talking, Phaeton defeats her while rusty, so he should be at least relative to Fing's with a way stronger attack. So all the mid-tiers are dead. Finally, that leaves us with the top 5 strongest members of the Phantom Troop: Hisoka, Crollo, Uvogin, and Illumi. Can Phaeton beat them? Let's go in order from weakest to strongest, starting with Uvogin. Though he's a pretty strong fighter, he loves to play around while fighting, which is what led to his defeat against Kurapika. Something similar would likely happen with Phaeton. Uvogin would play around and wouldn't kill Phaeton before he could fire his paint packer, leading to Uvogin's demise. Though you could argue that Uvogin could run away like the rest of the Phantom Troop did, I just think he has too much of an ego. Next up is Illumi. Illumi falls into the same pitfall as the mid-tier Phantom Troop members, being that he doesn't have enough feats. The only quote-unquote feats we have is that he could be stronger than Godspeed Killua, due to not being worried about fighting him at all, and Killua running away from him for a whole arc. And his only other feat is that Hisoka wants to fight him. Because of his lack of feats, I can't say whether he would win or lose, but because I want to keep the video going, we're going to move on to the next two characters, Hisoka and Crollo. Spoilers for the manga, by the way. Skip to this time if you want to avoid those. But anyway, Hisoka and Crollo have bad durability, and could easily be killed by even the weaker Painpacker, due to the fact that Hisoka was severely damaged and killed by an extremely small explosion, and Crollo is relative to Hisoka. While maybe you could argue this going either way, I do think that Hisoka and Kurlo both edge out the win, because Kurlo is stated and implied to be the strongest member of the Phantom Troop, with Hisoka being able to contest that. So, by extension, Phaeton should lose. Even theoretical limit Phaeton, because they could either kill him before he gets Painpacker off, or they could just run out of range like the other Phantom Troop members. But prep time Kurlo and postmortem Hisoka absolutely destroy Phaeton. Not even an argument there. So in the end, Phaeton loses to Hisoka, Crollo, and maybe Illumi, meaning that he is either the third or fourth strongest member of the Phantom Troop, if you even count Hisoka as a member, that is. So there you have it. If you would like me to do a whole video on how I rank the rest of the Phantom Troop, leave a like and subscribe. If you have any video ideas you would like me to do, make sure to comment them down below. Or if you want to argue with me, be sure to comment. I'll be happy to respond. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye.